Hello, and welcome back to the mothership. I am, of course, the commander, General Lax Zivrak. Thank you for joining us on this Acolyte episode. I can't even say it with a straight face. Acolyte, episode 3 review. This episode is brought to you by Copenhagen Snuff. Since 1822, it satisfies. Look, we're just going to get right into it, all right? So this episode, first of all, to all the... Look, I will call out some woke shit quicker than anybody. And this episode was nothing but a filler, fart in the wind episode. It gave us no information that we didn't already have. It was really much to do about nothing. Now, that being said, I was told, Episode 3 is going to be the one that makes you quit Disney Star Wars and all this kind of stuff. And, I don't even know what part they're talking about. I guess they're referring to the two witches who apparently made the babies without a man. But it looks like they probably used the Force, didn't they? Like, that's how Anakin was born. And I don't know. We'll just have to address that right off the bat. There are some production errors. As a show, as a Star Wars show, it did not, this episode wasn't that great. It gave us no information that we didn't already have. If this was a 2-hour movie, this entire 40 minutes would have been cut out. Because it shows us nothing. This episode was purely there to try to show you an anti-masculine group of people, I guess, With that being said, if this episode was supposed to be the woke propaganda that changed the world and stuck it to the man, they failed at that too, it was a failure all the way around. It was a failure all the way around. This episode, the first 2 episodes, there was some fight scenes. Choreography could have been a little bit better and all that kind of stuff. But the first 2 episodes, man, you got to saw some aliens that you'd never seen. You got some fight scenes. You got to see a Wookiee. You got to see some speeders and the stun gun blow up the wall. And there was things that happened. We were like, oh. And in this new episode 3, there was nothing like that. All I did was wait for something to happen. Whether it was something that was pertinent to the story, or whether it was this giant anti-traditional, anti-American propaganda that was made to brainwash people. And none of that ever happened. None of that ever happened. This episode was a disappointment all the way around. And again, like I said, if this was supposed to be the producers or the directors' attempt at changing the world with a political message, pushing wokeism or whatever the fucking word is, that was a fail too, man. That was that was a fucking fail. So it was much to do about nothing. If I do ever rewatch this series, I will skip episode 3 only because there's nothing in it worth watching. There was nothing in it worth watching. So, I give it a 1 out of 10. Now, the first 2 episodes, they were new, they were fresh. We got to see an unmasked Jawa. We got to see, like I said, new aliens. We saw some fucking fight scenes, which could have been better choreographed. I will give people that. And the acting in the first 2, there were some actors that aren't doing that good. A friend of mine said, it was awful. The acting was awful. And I agree with that. But my retort to that is man, Clark Gable is dead. Steve McQueen is dead. John Wayne is dead. Charles Bronson is dead. If you're not going to watch any fucking films made today where the acting is amazing and all this kind of shit. Like, it just, that they don't fucking make actors like they used to, you know? So I don't even know. I don't go to any fucking film expecting it to be, you know, Gregory Peck and the fucking bravados, or, you know, or like Faye Dunaway and Steve McQueen and the fucking the Thomas Crown Affair, you know, or Ali McGraw in the Getaway. Like, I don't expect any of that, because the days of people really taking pride in their craft, whether it's the art, the actors, or the producers, or the set designers, or the musical score, those days are gone. And that's a testament to the society in which we've been living in, right? So I don't fucking expect that shit. People have been talking about how, you know, this isn't your mama's Star Wars, and you're gonna quit Disney Star Wars. And like, man, I was mad at George Lucas 30 some odd years ago when he did the special editions, you know? So I've come to the realization that Star Wars isn't Star Wars in like 1996 or whatever year it was when the special editions come out, right? And I was the first person to fucking say, this is not my Star Wars, when Lap T. Nick was cut out of Return of the Jedi, when Yub Nub was cut out of Return of the Jedi, when Lax Sivrak was fucking cut out of, when the fucking man Lax Sivrak, there's the only figure of Lax Sivrak, there's 3 or 4 of them right there. When that happened so many years ago, I learned real quick that Star Wars will not ever be what it was. And the first person that did that was George Lucas. So for it to be sold to Disney and all that kind of shit, like, I guess newer generations of people who think the prequels are the best Star Wars films, and younger people who love the sequels, like, I guess you have a lot to fucking learn and a lot to fucking deal with. But for us old heads who remember Star Wars before it was even called A New Hope, when it was called Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi, we've already dealt with that. So anything they make now, like, I don't want to say that our expectations are low, but that's probably what it amounts to. And, you know, they're not doing any shit that fucking bothers us. There's a lot of people out there making the comments that all the old heads hate this and they think it's funny or whatever, and like, that's just not true. I watched episode 3. I will probably, if I do rewatch this series, which a couple years from now I might, I will know I'll just skip episode 3 because it's a waste of 47 minutes, you know? There was some serious the Wookiee, whoever's playing the Wookiee, who I think is supposed to be the same guy that played Chewie in the sequel Travesty, like, man, he looks awful. Like, he is not wearing a Wookiee suit under his Jedi robe, right? It was very disproportionate. It's a skinny dude in a robe with a giant Wookiee head mask on. And so they needed to... That was probably my biggest actual Star Wars complaint, is why is the Wookiee so skinny all of a sudden? And it's because they didn't have a guy in a Wookiee suit in a robe. They had a guy in a robe with a Wookiee head on, and that looked fucking ridiculous. That was atrocious. And it's only 16 years before, right? Wookiees age slowly, like Yoda. So in 16 years, it's not like he's an adolescent Wookiee, and then in 16 years, he's like a fat, middle-aged dad bod Wookiee. Like, that's not how it fucking works, dude, right? Like, is 50 years old and he's a baby, okay? It's the same thing with Wookiees. If they're full grown, then they're full grown. So that was an obvious production mistake and a terrible wardrobe idea. And that, to me, was a true as a Star Wars fan, that was the affront of this episode. The twins being made by 2 women, I don't know, I guess you could read in a bunch of shit like, you know, but they were obviously conceived by the Force, which is what Anakin was. So if that's the part that everybody's telling me, oh, you'll never look at Star Wars again, like, that happened in 1999, right? Anakin doesn't have a father. He was conceived by the Force. So it's possible for any other powerful Force user to conceive life through metachlorians with the Force. So I don't see that. I don't understand how that's supposed to, And like I said in the first review, the only obvious shit is the affirmative action casting and the lack of white men. And I'm not saying that from a political point of view. I'm saying that from an actual, factual, I'm fucking watching it point of view, right? So you don't have to get in the I'm sure you will. Any negative comments are still comments and they help with the algorithm. So say whatever the fuck you want. This episode was pretty much shit. But it wasn't just shit from a storytelling standpoint. Like I said before, if this was supposed to be the episode that totally offended old heads and was supposed to be this great woke, blasting of propaganda to the world, it failed on that part too. Like it really did. Like there was much to do about nothing. The fact that they had to show a society that had no men in it, well, they're witches, so, it's not witches and warlocks, so it tracks, I guess. And, the affirmative action casting is very obvious. But again, there's apparently a group of people in the Disney Star Wars industry who are so upset with all these idealisms that they think are against them, and the best thing they can do is make a show and decide, well, we're not casting any white men. And like, dude, whatever war you think you're fucking fighting, that ain't gonna get it done either. So to me, it's laughable. I laughed and stomped my feet and clapped my fucking hands throughout this entire show because it was just a big fail on everyone's part. If I could sum up this episode in one word, it would be ludicrous. The second word I would probably use is unnecessary. This was a filler episode. I'm sure that people on the leaning to the left, or whatever you want to call it. Like, man, I was raised by Indians in Alaska in the village. Like, nobody is more liberal than we are, you know what I mean? Everybody should be able to, grow their plants and guard them with their fully automatic weapons or whatever, like true freedom and liberty for everybody. And I say that, and part of that is not hating your neighbor because they are whatever the fuck they are, So I spent a lot of time being told, the third episode, and I waited and I watched it, and now all those people are gonna say, well, it's the fourth episode, and every person who told me, well, the third episode is what's gonna fucking piss you off, I asked them, have you seen it? And no, none of them seen it. They just heard that. And so, like, if I can give one message to people out there, don't fucking repeat what you hear other people say. Go to the source, read or watch the evidence in question, and make up your own mind. And don't make up your own mind too quick. Mull it over. Think about it. A good friend of mine, here's going to be a little knowledge drop, if you're still watching this video. And the true fans of Lax Sivrak and the Lax Sivrak channel here on the Mothership will still be watching. But remember this, if somebody tells you information, don't just listen to the information, retain the information, and then go back and ask yourself, okay, what is it that they told me? And then ask yourself, what are the things that I might do with this information? What are the actions I may take with this information? And then look at those actions and ask yourself, who will those actions benefit? Okay? And if you follow me what I'm saying, you will understand, right? If somebody gives you information and they want you to react to it, who is your reaction befitting? And it might be either that person that told you that or one of their friends. And that's how actual propaganda works, okay? And that's how dividing the people of a country or a creed or a code happens. And like, that's all I see from these haters on Instagram or YouTube, you know, especially Instagram, right? Any of the negative comments are coming from profiles that have 0 posts and follow 2,000 people and nobody follow. Like, that's either a professional troll or a bot or something like that. They're inside people trying to stir shit. So don't repeat what you hear. Watch it for yourself and then decide. I'm an old head. I'm an OT fan from way back. I don't like the special editions for the changes that George Lucas did. And so I'll be the first one to call shit out on any of this, you know? And I just don't see it. And again, if this is an attempt by the, whatever you call it, the woke population, you know, to push propaganda to your kids or to change the world and how shit is viewed, like, that ain't gonna fucking get it done. That ain't fucking gonna get it done. So what the fuck is the problem? What's everybody bitching about? I really don't know. I give this episode probably a 0 out of 10 because if you do ever rewatch this, you don't need to watch that episode. It shows us nothing. It gives us nothing. It's unnecessary. Was there any positive things in the episode? No. Dathomirian witches are kind of cool, but they didn't really do anything that was cool. I guess the only surprise is that we found out that May and Osha had force abilities and were practicing before the Jedi even found them. So there's that. In the very beginning, when they were manipulating those like butterfly things, like, I guess that was kind of a surprise, but there's really much to do about nothing, you know? And that being said, this is an 8-episode series. I'll watch them all because I'm only giving you the review from episode to episode. When it's all over, there will be an entire show with a story that I guess ends coherently. Maybe it won't. And then we will judge that as a whole. Like all the woke stuff that's supposed to be pissing everybody off, like, it's only down to the affirmative action casting. And, you know, like, if this was a book with no pictures and you just read it, you probably wouldn't get any of that. You probably wouldn't get any of that kind of feel for it. So it really means nothing, and it has no bearing on fucking anything at all. And there's like not really any politics in it. You know, I had somebody tell me, I said, well, what's the problem with it? They said politics. And I said, what fucking show are you watching, man? Are you talking about the politics of Star Wars? Like, are the Jedi good or evil? Like, yeah, that's still like a questionable thing to a point for some fans and shit. So, but as far as Star Wars, hey, it's new content, I'm gonna watch it. So, whatever. I may not like it when it's over. I may think it's okay. It will never be as fucking good as Andor, and it will never be as fucking good as the original trilogy pre-special editions. And so that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. If you are watching Disney Star Wars and you think it's gonna give you that feeling of going to the theater in 1977, and I'm pointing at Lax Sivrak here, right? If you think it's going to give you that feeling, then you're not paying attention, because Star Wars hasn't been Star Wars since Lax Sivrak was taken out of the fucking film. And Star Wars hasn't been Star Wars since Lap T. Nick was fucking removed from Return of the Jedi, you know? And what the fuck, man? So if you're expecting that, you are way fucking off base. Way off base, man. Totally. So, the one good thing about this episode is the fucking Green Jedi Master was not in it, because that actress fucking sucks. So, Saul is a cool character. The guy playing Saul seems to be a great actor. He's the best actor in this fucking series, that's for fucking sure. And that's just pretty much the end of it. So, I'll be waiting for all the people in the comments to tell me, oh, well, it's actually episode 4 that's gonna fucking rile you up. And we'll just continue that fucking pattern until it's over, you know? But, so I just had a review, candid review on Rebels, Reptiles, and Games channel. We just got done with that. And tomorrow, which will be Wednesday, I'll be doing another live stream review on collecting our Cool to Know, formerly Collecting with Cool, now Cool to Know channel. So look for that. We'll post those channels in the description so you can go over there. And also on Thursday, Left Coast Graphics, our good friend Rick at Left Coast Graphics, the coolest fucking Star Wars pins and patches that you will ever see. He'll be doing a review on this episode, I believe with Vern at Oakhurst Studios and Sir Eric Brown. And we'll link that in there too. So, and look, watch all the reviews you can. Don't just watch the ones that say in the fucking thumbnail what you think that you're supposed to believe. Go watch it for yourself. Discuss it with people. And don't get all pissy when somebody has a different opinion than you, you know? Because to grow and learn as a human, like, dude, we've all made mistakes and we have to learn from them and try to be better. And so if you're stagnant in your mindset, and especially if your mindset is brought to you about from propaganda that third parties tell you, then I don't know what you're contributing to this fucking world. And that's basically it, you know? So anyway, come back every Tuesday to this channel. We'll look for a review. I do a lot of other stuff on this channel. I do sword cutting. I cut fucking trees down in my yard. I touch my nose with fucking sledgehammers. Check out, I work in Alaska building ice roads. Go through my channel, look for those videos. We're just here to have a good time, but I will fucking tell you what I think. There's no fucking shilling here, and there's no fucking bullshit here. All you get is fucking straight lack, baby. And remember to hit that like button, and come back and join us. Everybody's welcome here. Let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments, and we'll do it again sometime. I have been General Lack Sivrak. I will continue to be. Thank you for joining me here on the mothership. Join us again for some more sex droids and lack and roll, baby. And as always, I will see you on down the trail.